G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright people, it's Wednesday, midweek review time. I was actually going to record this all last night and I'm glad I didn't. I'm really glad I didn't, because today it's been quite a bit, but there's been some news stories breaking today with regards to several things. Fury, White, Bob Arna mentioned a Usyk, the pay-per-view price. I might even start with that actually. The pay-per-view price of Thurman versus Mario Barrios on February 5th. $74.95. Damn. Now, how much was the Ortiz Martin pay-per-view? Because that was cheap by American standards. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it below $30? Any of my fans over there in America who watch. $75 basically. Jesus. You know, I know it doesn't affect me per se. Because I'm obviously not in America. It doesn't affect me, but that is crazy, dear. And you know it's bad because the tweet has more comments than likes. So people obviously are up in arms about that. I just can't understand the pay-per-view alone for that. I mean, you're essentially, if you think about it like this, you're essentially having a fight on pay-per-view where both guys are coming back after losses. Because Thurman hasn't fought since he fought Manny Pacquiao. It'll be, well over 2.5 years by the time he steps foot in the ring. And Barrios lost during the summer to Tank Davis, and unless I'm very much mistaken, I don't believe he's had a fight since then. Or if he has, it would have been maybe an obscure fight somewhere, because you know I certainly don't recall him being out in the ring. Amazing, isn't it? Really, you have two fighters coming off you have two fighters coming off losses, I should say, not back to back, but two fighters coming off losses. One is a former unified welterweight champion, yes. But he hasn't fought. How many times has he fought? He's fought twice since 2017. And he finds himself in a pay-per-view against the guy who, correct me if I'm wrong, has never campaigned at welterweight and is coming off the back of a loss to Gervonta Tank Davis, a lightweight. And this is 75 quid on pay-per-view. Yes, I'll admit there's some good fights on the undercard. The Lewis Neary fight is a fight that I am really looking forward to. The guy he's fighting, that's going to be very fun to watch. Leo Santa Cruz makes his return on that card, but still, I mean, I know, I you know what, right? It's funny because we complain here over this side of the pond about, like, say, Anthony Joshua, it being £25 on pay per view, and we're like, gee, it's £25, that's crazy. But when I look at this, I kind of think, could you imagine, just honestly, right? Could you just imagine the absolute uproar if AJ was to fight, just say for argument, he fought Usyk in April and Sky put 70, you would literally have, they would have pitchforks at the ready outside Sky for that. That's crazy. In terms of the fight itself, I'm intrigued. If this is anything like the Thurman of old, he should win this fight, straightforward. But Thurman looked very poor against Josecito Lopez, and that was after nearly 2 years out of the ring. Alright? He's had over 2 years out of the ring now. He's been painfully, ridiculously inactive as Thurman. And to be fair, like, Thurman, even before his long stretch of inactivity, he wasn't the most active fighter in the world. I mean, he fought once in 2017, he fought once in 2016. I think he only fought once, maybe twice in 2015. So even prior to the long periods of inactivity which he's been having, he's not been the most active fighter at that. So Thurman, oh boy, I don't know. And see, Thurman is someone who, he's never been, like, I don't want to say he'd just be, you know, grossly out of shape, but when you see him outside of fights, outside of camp, he's not crazy overweight, but he definitely doesn't appear to be, you know, the healthiest outside of camp. I'll put it like that. Like, I remember when Danny Garcia fought Samuel Vargas. Now, that was only a couple of months removed from when Thurman fought Sean Porter. And Thurman literally looked like the Kingpin out of Spider-Man in that suit he was wearing. So he really does, you know, I don't want to say he's not grossly overweight, but he definitely probably doesn't lead the cleanest lifestyle outside of fights either. So you got to expect that would catch up. And, you know, I used to love watching Keith Thurman, you know, back when he was one time, you know, back in 14, 15. But it's going to be interesting to see how he looks in this fight. It's really going to be interesting to see. The Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano fight, Eddie Hearn is stated very likely to go ahead at MSG. That would hit in, as far as I believe, yes it would. It would hit in with Valdez versus Shakur. It's a tremendous fight. It's not going to cause the same noise, he says, as Taylor Serrano. Now, Jake Paul is promoting that as well, so that will help. I would imagine because they're both on different sides of the states, so obviously they're talking about doing the Shakur Stevens Valdez fight in Las Vegas, Nevada, which is on the West Coast. MSG is in New York, firmly on the East Coast. There is a time difference. So I wonder, would they put Taylor's fight on earlier? Would they put it on, because the Zone have been very good for doing this, would they put it on at a time that is, say, friendly to us over here this side of the pond? Especially considering there'll be a lot of Irish people tuning in for that. Would they do something like that? Because, yeah, I could see both them going up against each other, but I can't see them doing it at the same time. To be 100% honest, I don't see them doing that. I'd say that they would work something out. Like, obviously, the Valdez-Shakur fight would be on a lot later. I mean, normally, that side of the states, they tend to, you'd be looking at like 4:30, sometimes 5 a.m. ring walk, sometimes later than that. Whereas in New York, normally it's not as bad. Normally, sometimes they are a bit late, depending on the undercard, but it's not normally as bad. Like, I've seen some main events. Like, I remember watching, was a Wilder fight a couple of years ago. And I think that was on at like 3 o'clock or 2:30 our time. It was many years ago. I think it might have been when he fought Spilka, which was handy because it's not that punishing, if you know what I mean. Like, I mean, there are times where you stay up to watch fights and you're literally going to bed at 6 a.m. and then you're trying to settle and it takes you ages. But staying up to like 2:30, fight's over by about 3, 3:30, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But as for the fight, Taylor and Serrano, favourite Amanda Serrano very heavily in that fight. Very, 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 very heavily. The trainer of Anthony Yarde, Tunde Ajayi, who was never shy of an opinion, he gave an interview with Unibet Lowdown and with regards to Joshua Buatsi, and, well, I'll quote what Tunde said here. Who has Buatsi fought? What risk is he taking to fight Yarde? The fight's going to happen, but as of now, Buatsi has to fight somebody. He pulled out of the Vlasov fight. Why don't Callum Johnson and Buatsi fight? And I believe actually Eddie Hearn, if I can get the quote here, yes, he stated that he's made a very big offer to Anthony Yarde for the Buatsi fight. He added he also made offers to Craig Richards. Just touching on what Tunde Ajayi said there with regards Anthony Yarde and Buatsi. Buatsi's best name is definitely Bolotniks. He did, correct, pull out of the Vlasov fight, which was a shame. I was looking forward to that fight. And annoyingly, that fight is literally, it's not looking like it's going to be rescheduled. Eddie Hearn's already talking about Craig Richards and Anthony Yarde as potential next opponents. I can't see Anthony Yarde taking that fight, not because he's afraid of Joshua Buatsi or anything like that, but you got to think of it logically. Likelihood is Yarde's going to fight Yarde's likely going to fight Joe Smith Jr. next. Likelihood is I could probably see that happening sometime this summer. He is not going to fight Joshua Buatsi if he's got a world title fight lined up. It does, unless you're talking crazy amounts of money, which I don't think there would be. Unless you're talking absolutely crazy amounts of money, he's not going to take that fight when he's got a world title fight. Against one of the weaker champions, it has to be said in Joe Smith Jr. He is probably the weakest at 175 pounds. But saying that, I'd still pick him over Anthony Yarde. So, you know, there's that. In terms of the Buatsi Vlasov fight, again, I'm annoyed that they're not remaking that because it would have been good to see. Like, I would have favoured Maxine Vlasov in that fight quite heavily. But if Buatsi had have got through that, whoa, we got a fighter on our hands here. Because Vlasov, as far as I'm concerned, is a legit world level light heavyweight now. And he's not like one of these guys that, you know, is probably a bit over the hill or something like that. No. Vlasov right now, world level light heavyweight. How he makes light heavyweight is beyond me, Vlasov, because he's not a small boy at cruiserweight. You know, when he was campaigning at cruiserweight, he was in the World Boxing Super Series at cruiserweight. He was not a small light heavyweight by no stretch of the imagination. So for him to go in there against Buatsi, coming off the back of the Joe Smith Jr. loss, I know we had a fight there before Christmas. Oh, that could have gone nasty. that might not have ended well for Buatsi. Tunde also had his say on Anthony Joshua versus Oleksandr Usyk. He said he needs to watch Lyndon Arter versus Anthony Yarde too. Use the blueprints, use all your physical attributes, height, reach, power, and just beat him up. Roadman mentality. Yeah. He also had comments basically saying that, who beats Anthony Yarde? Well, Kovalev. And the first time around with Lyndon Arter. But Tunde Ajayi is someone who is definitely not short of confidence. He does like to toot his own horn. Yarde, I do think, like you saw it in that press conference with Pat Barrett going into the Yarde's rematch, that I think Yarde is taking more front and centre now in his career. Tunde, he likes to give it that. He talks an awful lot of what. He literally as far as Tunde is concerned, if you showed him a river, he would have said, I already walked on that water. It's sort of like, why don't you show me? No need to show you, I already did it. That's the kind of guy Tunde is, He's very much into his motivational speeches and kind of things like that, which, look, I get where he's coming from. He likes to keep, a good mindset, and I think he hopes to talk things into existence. Not say you can't do that. You can, I think, in some aspects, but I think with him, you're wondering, is he going into that realm of between confidence, delusion? I wonder, is he kind of, because that's a very, very thin line to walk. And Tunde's been saying some bizarre things over the years. Like, it was only 3 years ago he was saying that, Anthony Yarde will have an easier time with Kovalev and do a better job than Andre Ward did. And was it Coogan or was it Umar? It was one of the two who basically asked him elaborate on it, and he just basically said, well, Yarde's more exciting. And it's like, how do you interpret that as doing a better job? And that video didn't age well, by the way. But yeah, that didn't age well, that video. But how do you interpret that as doing a better job? Because it's a bit like what Carl Froch used to say, like, Ward, yeah, is he ever going to be a great, I don't know, he was a bit boring. Yeah, but he beat you and he did a lot of great things in the ring. His style might not have been for everyone, but he was effective. So we move on from that. Oh, good Lord. This. Jeez. Do you know something? I like Myers Braids as a fighter, I do. But this right here, he got that tattoo last week, and people have told me it's real, which is just a head scratcher. But he's done this video wishing Jake Paul a happy birthday and saying, I'm going to beat you up. So this is the best cruiserweight in the world calling out a YouTuber, right? Jake Paul and the whole kind of, but I don't mind it that much, to be honest with you. I was looking forward to watching the Tommy Fury fight, I have to say, because both guys are at a similar level, to be fair. Tommy Fury's not great. Jake Paul has a bit of athleticism there, definitely, and for your average fighter who's never, had much of a background in the sport, he's not that bad. That's not me saying he's going to go places, he's not, but he's not, for someone who's never really boxed before up until a couple of years ago, he's not that bad. At his level, like what he does, fighting retired MMA guys and, low level fight, he's not that bad. But Myers Braids is, like, even when Oleksandr Usyk was in the cruiserweight division, general consensus, he was the second best, right? Look at what performance he did against Usyk, and look at what AJ did. Braids, on some people's cards after the fight, they had him winning the fight. This is one of the best cruiserweights in the world. He's toyed with going up to heavyweight. He's fought at heavyweight before. Manuel Char, great knockout. And now he's not calling out Lawrence Okolie. He's not talking about maybe going up to Bridger weight and having to go there. He's calling out and saying he wants to beat up a YouTuber. Why? Why aren't you looking to unify your division? Undisputed. I know that the clock is ticking for Myers Braids. He's getting on there now. I think he's on the wrong side of 30. But why are you doing that? Like, seriously, I get people like Tommy Fury calling him out because they're kind of in around that category. I get that. And I get, like, maybe, the odd MMA guy, but a world champion boxer? Really? On better news, Nonito Donaire, Naoya Inoue, rematch in negotiations in Japan again, unification, according to Richard Schaefer. Nonita Donaire, the ageless warrior. I love Nonita Donaire. And Jamie from Punch Perfect Boxing, I look at his channel there on screen, he done a fantastic interview with Nonita Donaire a couple of weeks ago, and he's one of his favourite fighters. That first fight was brilliant. It really, really was. We learned a lot about, well, we learned that Nonita Donaire still has an awful lot left in the tank, and Father Time hasn't found him yet. And we also found out that Naoya Inoue, as well as being an absolutely devastating puncher, has a very good chin. Underrated chin. I don't think we talk about Naoya Inoue in terms of who's got a very good chin. As far as I'm concerned, right, I know Donaire's best punch is his left hook, certainly at bantamweight. I mean, that left hook is, I would say, probably the single hardest shot in that weight division is Nonita Donaire's left hook. And it wasn't the left hook that caught Inoue, it was the right hand. But let's not beat around the bush here. Nonita Donaire's right hand, you don't want to be taking them shots at bantamweight. And was Inoue hurt? He definitely was. But he was able to stay on his feet and ride out the storm. The fact he was able to stay on his feet, ride out that storm, shows to me Inoue has a very good chin. It's not just a case of he's a big puncher, he's got sturdy whiskers. So if it's anything like the first fight, we're in for a treat. Inoue hasn't been fighting, like Jason Maloney wasn't too bad, but not really someone I'd like to see him in there with. And then he had that guy he fought, the Filipino, I think was he Filipino or was he Thai? I think he was Filipino. He was tough, very tough. I mean, he took a tremendous beating before being stopped in 8. Really tremendous, really horrible beating. So we haven't really seen Inoue in deep water since the Donaire fight, because that was a tough fight for both men. I mean, Inoue, what was it? Did he have the eye problem in the 4th round or earlier than that? And he was fighting with, it wasn't detached retina, wasn't it? So, yeah. Big up to him. Big up to both guys. So, if they do a rematch, April, Japan, I'm all for it. I like that fight. There was one thing about that fight that interested me. And this is just me, just thinking here. They used winning gloves in that fight. Go back and watch the fight. They used winning gloves. Now, Donaire is always a fighter who uses Everlast. So, that's the only fight he's ever used winning in. And he's used Everlast every fight before and every fight since. I wonder, because I'm telling you now, if you're wearing a glove that you're not comfy with and you're not used to, I'm not going to say that's the reason you lose, but it might take away because it's a glove you're not familiar with. You might not be used to training in, you might be used to fighting in as well. You might not like. And winning gloves are not most fighters' preferred fight glove, to be fair, because they're very heavily padded, very soft glove, extremely soft. And not only do they protect you, they protect the fighter too, because they are that soft. You get a lot of foam gloves, where, like a Grant, where the foam is quite dense, quite hard. So although it's giving you protection, it's not necessarily protecting your opponent. Whereas a winning is not like that. It's real, like, kind of soft like that. So your hand is protected, but it's also cushioning the blow a bit. Obviously, if the Donaire hits you with it, it's still going to hurt. But I wonder, genuinely, like, I mean, if you talk about the Everlast, I think it's Elite Pro he normally wears, they're kind of like a mixture between the MX and the Power Locks. You'd feel a shot if you got hit with one of them, definitely, from Nonita Donaire. Ryan Garcia stated his next fight is likely going to be April 2nd, and it will be in Las Vegas. Of course, no opponent being named. What happened to Isaac Cruz? What happened to Isaac Cruz? They were talking about that. It seems like that's not happening now. I would have liked to have seen him in there. I'd like to see him in there with Tank Davis, but Isaac Cruz will do. Amir, this is interesting. Amir Khan versus Kell Brook has a rematch clause. Kell Brook revealed on Sky Sports. I wonder, is it for both men, or is it just for one or the other? I would assume if it's a good, like, honestly, like, I can see where they're coming from here, to be fair. If it's a good fight, and say we get to the ending, and both guys maybe have scored knockdowns apiece, and it's a close competitive fight, they might ask to run it back. And I'm sure if it was a very, very good fight, people would be interested to see it again. Maybe they could turn it into a rematch, and at the end of the day, there's money to be made from that. I mean, the thing is, most fighters and promoters want to get trilogies in. Not saying that'll be a trilogy, but you never know. If there's money to be made, Sky and them fighters will jump on it. Eddie Hearn was also on to IFL TV, and he gave a an update on Alen Babic, what he's trying to do now. And this, to me, listen to this. They're trying to make Oscar Rivas versus Alen Babic. They've reached out about a potential shot at the WBC Bridgerweight title. Is he looking to cash Alen Babic out? Because Oscar Rivas is a very, very good fighter. Very good fighter. Babic almost got beat. Almost got stopped by, what was his name? Something Spillmount? Babic, I love watching Alen Babic fight. Love watching him fight. He's so fun to watch. But I look at Alen Babic, I take him for what he is. He's a fighter who's fun to watch. He goes in there swinging from the fences. He gives it all. He's a bit like a gimmick. You know, do I take him serious as a legit threat to world level guys at Bridgerweight or heavyweight? No, I don't. Because he's just the first time I really had a good look at Alen Babic was the Shondale Winters fight. Now Winters, he'd previously been in there with Parker a few months before. He's shown a bit of athleticism, but he was old, right? And he was light. You know, he was really a cruiserweight. So was Babic, to be fair. But Winters was low, was like 190 something pounds, which says that he's not even that particularly big a cruiserweight. Because that fight was actually at heavyweight. So he came under the heavyweight limit, which shows that he's not a particularly big man. But little snippets that Winters was doing with regards boxing, jab, and trying to counterpunch and move a bit, I could see instantly that was going to trouble Babic, that he was going to be open to get hit unless he tightened up his defense a bit, unless he stopped being so reckless. He's open to getting hit. And if you get someone there who can box a bit, who can counter, who can stick a jab out, that doesn't even have to be massively sophisticated, as we've seen in the last fight. He's so open to get hit. And when he swings, and when he loads up on his shots, he's pushing all of his weight into them shots. He's rotating into them with his shots. That if you can counter him, Alen Babic, is magnifying the opponent's shot because he's twisting and turning his whole body into it. So, for example, if you throw in a left hook and he's turning into it, he's doubling the effect of the blow. So I looked at that and I've seen nothing since then to tell me any otherwise, that Babic is a knockout waiting. Now, maybe Eddie Hearn knows that, and maybe he's thinking, do you know what? Get him a world title if you consider the Bridgerweight title a title. Get him that shot and see what happens. If he wins, happy days. If he loses, so be it. You know, they can always rebuild him and say, oh, we took a shot against the world level Bridgerweight. I will rebuild him and we'll do whatever. But I do like watching Alen Babic fight, don't get me wrong. I do. But to me, just he needs, and Babic can box a bit, but he just, as he says, he wants to get beat. I want to get knocked out. I want someone to beat me. I want to get knocked out. That's Babic in a nutshell. Interesting one. The WBC have announced that Conor Benn, Mario Barrios, Mauricio Lara, Lee McGregor, and Chris Billum-Smith have all been removed from this month's rankings, as they have not registered for the VADA Clean Boxing Program. They still have the opportunity to do so and be reinstated. So the WBC, for those who don't know, basically they do the WBC Clean Boxing Program, which is year-round VADA testing. It's completely random. They can come to your house on Christmas morning and ask for a sample. Now, once you sign up for that, you will therefore be ranked with the WBC. If you don't sign up for it, or you happen to be in their rankings, they'll remove you. A good example would be Kell Brook. When Kell Brook lost to Errol Spence, his first fight back was in Sheffield. I can't remember the guy's name. No. I can't remember the guy's name. I had a long name, I remember that. And he won that fight. That fight was 154 pounds. It was for a WBC silver title. Now, Kell Brook never signed up for the WBC Clean Boxing Program and was subsequently stripped of that title. It was only a tricket title. It wasn't a major title. And was removed from the rankings because he didn't sign up. He never signed up after that, by the way. And he had a year of inactivity. Make it out what you will. But anyway, he was stripped from their rankings. Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Big Farmer Miller. What am I saying, Big Baby? Big Farmer Miller. He obviously was never part of their rankings. There have been several instances where they've removed them. To be honest with you, I wouldn't look at this as being smoke and gun for a simple reason. Lara I think he's probably more in the IBF kind of end of it. Ben, WBA, because he's been defending, I think, a WBA international title, so I wouldn't worry about that. Barrios, not sure where he is. Smith's high enough ranked, the WBC. I think he's in the top 7 or 8. So see, maybe he's looking at going a different avenue as well, potentially. Lawrence Akoli, WBO, maybe he cares more about that ranking than they does, because at the end of the day, and Lee McGregor I'm not too sure about, but at the end of the day, if you don't intend on fighting, like, this is not me giving a pass, so don't think that, but I suppose if you don't intend on fighting for the WBC title, maybe you're not going to be that bothered. And like with Ben, he definitely has been defending a WBA title, I think it's an international title or an intercontinental title, so he's probably looking at, and Hearn's relationship with the WBA is better than the WBC, so maybe he's thinking, you know what, we'll just get him in there with WBA. They've talked about Dennis Ugas in the past. I don't know if they'll be quite so forthcoming about Errol Spence, but we shall see. But lastly, I'll finish it here because I've been going a lot longer than I planned, because there's a lot of stuff coming out. A lot of stuff. Bob Arum has recently been told, or rather I should say recently, was in talks, I should say, that Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk is trying to make a deal for the Middle East. So we're looking at Saudi Arabia or somewhere like that, maybe, potentially. A deal with Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua stepping aside are ongoing. He is far from optimistic, branded the situation total chaos, and said he has no idea which Usyk or Whyte will be next. So the Fury-Whyte situation, it really is all over the place. I mean, at this stage now, I know I did a video the other day where I was saying I really hope it doesn't happen, but to be honest with you, I wouldn't even be shocked if we did see Char and Fury next at this stage, to be honest with you, in a non-title fight, because it just seems all over the place. It seems like it's just one thing after another with the whole of the heavyweight division. It's just like Usyk signing a rematch clause for Anthony Joshua, Fury and the Wilder situation being dragged on, Dillian Whyte losing to Povetkin, rematching Povetkin, wanting to take legal action. Now Fury and Wilder get their stuff settled. Now it's Dillian Whyte. Oh, now the arbitration thing comes in. Purse bids. Oh, now they're getting pushed back. It just seems never ending, doesn't it? Like, it just, as someone who loves the heavyweight division, as a fan of the heavyweight division, I really want to see Undisputed, but I also want to see the best fight the best. It just seems so frustrating that all these things just keep getting in the way. You know, it's just like, we know what we want. We know what we want. We want to see Undisputed, or at least we want to see the best fighting the best. You know, if Usyk beats AJ again and Fury decides, I don't think he will, but if he decides I don't want to go for Undisputed, I'll fight Anthony Joshua, it's still a great fight. If Usyk decides, do you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to fight Filip Hrgovic, I'll fight, you know, the winner of Hrgovic versus Joker, I'd still find that fight quite interesting, to be honest with you. So there's good fights to be made. It's just a case of when are we going to get to see them. You know, that's what I want. I want to see. Heavyweight division will always be my favourite division. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's the first division I really took an interest in when I started watching boxing first, and I started becoming really in tuned in it. Maybe that's why it's my favourite division. Maybe it's because there's that era of drama that you get in heavyweight boxing that you just don't get in the other divisions. I appreciate the skill set of welterweights, lightweights, superfly, etc. I appreciate the skill on offer. I appreciate that a lot of the fights in there are great. But there's something about big guys who can all punch being in there where you just never know. You know, you just never really know what might happen. You don't even have to be a noted puncher, a heavyweight. I mean, people always be like, well, he can't punch. And I'm telling you now, right? I was like, if you're a 6'6", 250-pound man, and you land your best shot on another man of similar size, it don't matter if you're not noted as a big puncher. You're going to hurt him. You're definitely going to hurt him. And that's one of the reasons why I like heavyweight boxing. It's just a case of the saying one punch can change everything. That is heavyweight boxing in a nutshell. One punch literally can change everything. Andy Ruiz versus Anthony Joshua, the first fight, classic example. AJ drops Ruiz, goes in for the kill. One left hook from Andy Ruiz. Fight changed completely. That's heavyweight boxing. That's why I love it. That's why I want to see the best fight. You know? That's why I want to see Undisputed. So this went on a lot longer than I planned. Because I'm glad I didn't do this last night. Because I don't know if I would have got as much stuff in. Because a lot of this stuff came out today, and yeah, I'm pretty pleased that I got to talk about all this. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you stuck around, thank you. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you could, lads and lasses, smash the like button. Getting there. We're getting there. 6,200 subs. Well, a little over 200, but 6,200 subs. And yeah, we're getting there, people. We're getting there. Next goal is 10k. That is the next goal. That is the next goal, 10,000. We can do that. Of course we can. For now, I'll talk to you. Peace.